G'day team, welcome back to our Goldfields adventure where we're seeking our fame and fortune. In our last episode, we visited Rolls Lagoon before finishing up in the historic town site of Malene and making camp on the eastern fringe of the Goldfields. But today, I'm going to be jumping in the Perenti with Jeff and we're heading to the Granites. Righto Jeff, we've been on the track for quite a while now and this is the area that you call the Granites.
That's right, and we're here at Tommy's Well, and throughout this region there's granite domes and outcrops, and beneath here, the ground that we stand on, is actually an aquifer of water, and this would have been so important for the prospectors in this part of the world, but also something else, another profession that starts with P that we'll find out a little bit more later on down the track.
Well, I'll tell you what, Tommy's Well certainly does look deep.
Oh, there's plenty of water in there as well.
All right, let's get back on the road. Right, Jeff, it looks like the track has been completely washed out in your recent rains.
That is that is
Bit
true,
of an
Tony.
understatement?
It is an understatement, mate. Look, I travelled down this track probably 18 months ago.
Yep.
And I was able to do, you know, nothing ridiculous, but, you know, 40 k's an hour, quite happily, just tucking along. But, you know, we're doing about walking pace now.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And we've actually had to drive around one of the sections that's no longer a track, but a riverbed, Tony.
It looks like a riverbed.
It is.
And whilst we're doing walking to pace,
Yep.
the flies are able to keep up with us.
They are.
Tell you what, I don't know how you live out here sometimes, mate. This time of year, get out of here.
We're in the flies territory, Tony.
Oh, mate,
There's
I tell
not
ya,
much we can do.
it is next level. Oh, see now we're starting to move on a bit.
I know, we're at a blistering
Yeah.
20 k's an hour
20
now,
k's an
Tony.
Hey Jeff, I've got to admit, mate, I've been sneaking a couple of little rocks into the car.
Wouldn't mind having a look at them a bit later around the campfire.
Well, I could kind of tell that you were, Dave, and it might be a little bit more than a little, because that little chimney seems to be leaning on one side a bit heavily, mate. Hang
Get a
on.
bit of flex on the old Perenti.
On the Perenti. Might have to go into low range for that.
Low range.
Bit of a drop off here.
Whoop.
Gotta love low range.
Whoop. Get up there. Get up there.
Go girl.
Go. The
Loves
old girl
it.
loves it. As our adventure continues, Jeff has brought us to an isolated, deserted homestead. It feels remote now. I can only imagine what it would have been like back in the heyday.
Right, so one of the other professions that I alluded to at Tommy's Well was if you couldn't make your fame and fortune as a prospector, then you could also potentially make your fame and fortune as a pastoralist.
Ah, well that explains why we are surrounded by so many flies, mate, because here we are at a shearing shed.
That's right, Tony. This is 100 years old, and back then the price of wool was the same price as that of gold. And this comes back to the old saying that Australia rode on the sheep's back. It was such a key part of Australia's economy.
Well, now that you mentioned gold, mate, throughout this trip, one thing's been missing. It's been the gold. So I think that we head back to camp and we find ourselves that elusive nugget. Let's go. G'day team, we're travelling through the West Australian goldfields, and now that we're all set up at base camp, a reliable source of solar energy is absolutely paramount. And today we've set up the 300 watt solar blanket from Wildtrak. Now the big rig needs a big solar panel, and the 300 watt blanket will provide up to 15 amp an hour, sorting out all of our power needs. Now the high output 20 amp MPPT solar controller means that you can safely charge all of your batteries, including the latest in lithium technology. Now this has to be my favourite feature. Even a big solar blanket like this, packing up and setting up is an absolute breeze. And when you add in these integrated kickstands, maintaining the correct angle to the sun all day long is absolutely fantastic. The Wildtrak solar blankets come in 3 capacities at 160 watt, 240 watt, and the big boy, this is the 300 watt. For these and other great Wildtrak products, visit your local stockist or wildtrak.com.au. Okay, Jeff, we've been on the trail all day and we're almost back at camp, but right near our campsite, I'm seeing all of these old mine shafts. Now, one question I do have is how did the prospectors back in the day know where to sink these mine shafts?
Well, look, they were very clever fellas. They knew what to look for in the landscape. And by just doing some very simple methods, they were able to find that spot. Basically, walking through the landscape, looking at the different colours, particular signs in the rocks, but also using the humble gold pan, putting a little bit of soil in it, panning it off and seeing if there was a few specks of gold in there. Hopefully there'd be more and there'd be a significant amount. And if there was, then they would look at actually digging a shaft. Now, one of the other processes that we've been talking about off camera, Tony, is dollying for gold. And this is like a mortar and pestle method. Basically putting rocks in, crushing it up into a fine sand and then panning it off. Now I think we've picked a few rocks up along the way, haven't we, Tony?
We certainly have. We've been fossicking around all of this salt and pepper area that you've been telling us about, and I've certainly collected a few of my own right here. So we've got this one here. What do you reckon?
I think there might be something in there, but we're not going to find out anything here, are we, Tony?
Not at all.
We've got to get that in the dolly pot.
Now, we've got one here.
We do. I brought one along.
Fantastic. All right, so we're going to get back down to camp, crush this bad boy up, and let's see if we found some gold. Back at camp, Jeff gets to work by the fire with his trusty dolly pot to see if we're in luck. Well, no gold this time, but what an amazing trip. The goldfields are a window into our early settler past, and every time I come out here, I learn something new. Well, that's all from us today, and we hope you've enjoyed this final episode of our Goldfields adventure in our search for fame and fortune. But don't let the adventure stop there. Make sure that you subscribe to the Wildtrack YouTube channel and follow all the socials. We'll see you on the next one.